Good afternoon, everybody. I chose to review the easyCBM, where CBM stands for Curriculum-Based Measures, as based on our prior week's conversations, I have been mulling over how I can do a better job with my math select and math intense interventions, especially in light of the fact that progress monitoring in my school is currently done on Ames Web, and that data goes to the instructional coaches, not to the teachers that are teaching the math interventions. In addition, we do not have any specific curriculum to guide us with those math interventions. I did have a great conversation with my principal this week where I asked that question, why do I not also get the Ames Web data? And she said that was a great question. She was going to look into that. And I spoke with my instructional coach, and she gave me permission to pilot MAP skills as a progress monitoring tool and an intervention tool that will guide and give me some curriculum tools available. So I'm super excited about that and just wanted to say thank you to Dr. Wright and my colleagues for helping me process those questions and hopefully take one step towards a solution. So easyCBM was designed by Julie Alonso and Gerald Tyndall from the University of Oregon. In 2006, it began with a grant from the Office of Special Education and then has grown quickly from there. Basically, it's designed to generate CBMs in math and reading, and most recently, Spanish vocabulary. There are two versions available. The Lite is free. The Teacher Deluxe, the CBMs are a little bit longer. So in the Lite version, there's only 16 items per measure, and the Teacher's Deluxe, it's 45 items per measure. Additionally, the Teacher Deluxe version, which is the same as the district version, gives one access to screening benchmark assessments in addition to CBMs. Now, in my district, we already use MAP and STAR for screening benchmarks, so I really wouldn't necessarily want the screening information, except I would want to answer the question, how well do the CBMs align to the screening benchmark assessments that we're already using? And you can administer both individual and group tests, which we're going to show you right now. So we would log in once we've created that free Lite account, and we can click on students. And for purpose of this demonstration, I just put in test 1 through test 5, and you'll see one additional student in a moment, Jenny McCall. I've actually went ahead and put in my own students to use this with this week, and that's why you see 14 are currently listed. You have a 200 max with the free account, which is nice and generous. I've called my grouping Math Intense. I normally wouldn't do that in front of students. I would call it Kit Kat, Snickers, and Peppermint Patties, but just so you all understood the purposes of how I'm using it. We'd want to assign groups, so we could assign different measures to different groups of students. And then I can go back to my dashboard. I can click on Measures, and you can see the measures listed by grade, what area is covered in the test. So in terms of reading, passage reading fluency and multiple choice reading comprehension are both assessed. In the lower grade levels, letter names and sounds, phoneme segmentation, and word reading fluency are also assessed. In terms of math, there's 3 focal point standards per grade. So you can see 1 set of tests, 2 set of tests, and 3 set of tests. And while the focal points vary per grade, there's always going to be 3 per grade, and that's aligned with the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics for the NCTM focal point standards. So I've already said, let's go ahead and assign this first test to my Math Intense group. So when students were to log in, they would log in under my username. They would click on Measures, and then they would click on this link. They would select their group name, which again would not be Math Intense. They would select their name, and they would select the test of what an item would look like. Also, if you click on the sound icon, they can hear the stem read to them. So each day that it is watered, a plant grows 1 inch. Which graph shows this? They would select their answer and move on to the next item. And again, 16 items per measure in the Lite version. If you purchased the Teacher Deluxe version, it would be 45 items per test. I'm going to backtrack out of this real quick and go back to the dashboard. reports. Export that data as a CSV file. You would see earlier I have taken that test and got 16 out of 16 correct. Right now, we were just entered as test 1 name. We got 1 correct. And then what I find most helpful about this easyCBM is that I can, underneath CBMs in reports, I can click on math, and it's going to load up data that summarizes the results of all the students in that group that took the test. So currently, 1 student took the test and got a score of 16. 1 student took the test and got a score of 1. It also shows you individual progress monitoring data. Since I've only taken 1 test, this chart does not look very helpful, but in a moment, because that's my 1 point right there, I'm going to show you an example of, I thought I was going to show you an example. Yep, here we go. This is from the easyCBM Lite Deluxe Teacher's Manual. This would be what progress monitoring data would actually look like. And they do recommend in math that you not assess the same standard weekly. So remember we talked about there's 3 focal points. They would want you to rotate between those 3 standards if you're going to assess weekly. Otherwise, no more often than every 3rd week. And then most helpful to me is this item analysis. It shows me the number of students that got an item correct, and if a student got it incorrect, their names. So that would be so helpful to me to be able to pull my small groups and say, hey, we got to work on practicing a few of this type of a problem. And if you pay for the Teacher Deluxe version, which again is the same as the district version, this would give you your intervention information. I would be really interested in previewing this before I purchased it, but unfortunately they don't seem to offer that option. One more thing I wanted to highlight was resources, because this is where you go through training. And the training is just simply reading a passage, taking a short multiple choice exam. The letter names measured is a group administered test. I know that's false, it's an individual test. I know you're supposed to give a 1-to-1 computer ratio. You can give them scratch paper. You're not supposed to pronounce words for them. I am supposed to still follow accommodations based on students' IEPs. And it probably would be shorter just to give them the test on the computer. And so you can see I got all of those correct, and so therefore I can move on to the next test. I thought this was, it actually showed me a video of how to give the reading test. And they do recommend 1 to 4 hours for a teacher to be qualified to give the easyCBM exam. Scores are available in both raw scores, which I just showed you a moment ago. Like if the student got 13 correct out of 16, their raw score is a 13. But they also have charts available that convert those. They help you interpret the score against the norm. And the norms were created from 500 students per group in 4 regions across the U.S. And those groups were stratified based on grade level, race and ethnicity, and gender. So you can see that on the test we just gave, if the student got 16 correct, they would get 90th percentile. If they got 9 correct, they would be in the 10th percentile, and so on. And then one area that I struggled to find information on was the reliability coefficient and the standard error of measurement. There was a study found on the intensiveintervention.org that did give me a coefficient of 0.82 to 0.89 and an SEM of 3.39 to 3.58, but this was specifically for reading letter sounds for the easyCBM. I was not able to find that information for my middle school math interventions. I'm sure it's out there, I just wasn't able to find it. I did find this website also on the University of Oregon that's behavioral and research and training, and they have publications that include technical reports. And one of the ones that I pulled was on middle school math, right here. And this was exploring differential item functioning, which basically has to do with how much bias affects a question in middle school mathematics if a test is given in, say, a lower socioeconomic area with more diversity than in the West Coast, which is largely where easyCBM grew initially. They were finding that predominantly the students were white that were taking it on the West Coast. So that's why they actually diversified their norms into the 4 areas across the United States when they developed those percentile scores. So I did enjoy reviewing easyCBM. I think the way that I would most likely use it is in that report that would be able to pull for me which items a student got incorrect and be able to help me hopefully guide my interventions. I look forward to talking to you guys on the discussion boards.